Hey everyone, welcome, and here we are talking about the brand new Blumhouse horror movie called Imaginary. To me, Blumhouse has been very hit or miss lately, and it's mostly been misses, sadly. I don't know what they're doing over there at that studio, but they need to take some lessons from A24, some of the other ones, because they need help. Not trying to kick them down or anything, but the ideas that they are putting out there for their horror movies just aren't it. I feel like they need to get in a meeting, reconcile everything, and kind of narrow down their thought process to a few good films, instead of putting out random movies every month. That being said, I'm a huge horror movie fan. Even though it's Blumhouse and they put a sour taste in my mouth lately, I wanted to go check out this new film. So I went out and caught Imaginary this past Tuesday, and here are my thoughts on it. This is a PG-13 horror film, and sometimes when you have a PG-13 horror film like Megan from last year, still see it as a good film. It still comes across as scary. They can still make it work. Other times, you really feel that PG-13 rating, and it comes across as a bit childish and a bit underwhelming. And I would say that this movie, Imaginary, falls more into that realm for this. This movie is directed by Jeff Wadlow, I believe was the name of him, and I looked up his filmography. He made Kick-Ass 2, he made Truth or Dare, that horror movie from a few years ago, and a bunch of other random shit that no one's ever seen. I'm a fan of Kick-Ass 2. I thought, maybe this could be good. I do enjoy that movie. Not as good as the original Kick-Ass, but it's a solid film. I have seen Truth or Dare. From what I remember, I didn't really care for it that much, but it's been a while, and like I said, I don't remember that movie that much. But getting into this one, Imaginary, we follow this family who the mom, or the stepmom of the kids, she is having these dreams at night, and they're causing her to not be able to sleep, causing a lot of issues with her at night. And so her and her new husband decide that it's time for a change in their life. So they move to the one place where the stepmom has felt happy in her life, and that is her childhood home that she grew up in with her parents. So they get back to this childhood home, and it seems like there's a lot of trauma in this childhood home for the stepmom, but a lot of kind of buried trauma that I don't know if it's her childlike brain or what it was when she was younger, trying to suppress this trauma and trying to hide it from her, but she doesn't seem to remember much of any of it, besides the fact that her mom passed away while she lived there, and her dad kind of lost his mind, and now he's been in a home for a while. So this movie starts, and it's mostly following the stepdaughter of the main character and her experience with imaginary friends, hence the title of the movie, Imaginary. And one day she goes in the basement and she finds this bear, and this bear starts to become her imaginary friend named Chauncey. This movie, I wouldn't say it's scary at all, but it does build some good suspense. It's not as bad as some of the Blumhouse movies of recent history, but it's not a horror movie that I would say I'd go back and rewatch. A couple things I'm talking about is there's a scene where the main character, the stepmom, draws a smiley face on a blue bouncy ball, and then 5 minutes later, she hears a noise downstairs, and she goes to discover that that bouncy ball is bouncing around by itself, but now with a frown on it. And it's like, am I really supposed to be scared of a bouncy ball with a frowny face on it? I don't get it. The whole plot point of the imaginary friend that's evil being a teddy bear, honestly, I laughed more at it than I was scared by it. I thought that was kind of childish and funny. I do get that it went for a PG-13 rating, and I kind of feel like that hurt this movie a lot, and I get that studios want to go for that PG-13 rating, so kids that are 13 in middle school and high school, they see this rating and they're like, oh my gosh, I can actually go see a horror movie without my parents. It gets more kids out to the theater. They're excited to go watch a scary movie. I understand that, but I think sometimes it can hurt a movie, and I think it did with this one. The story overall is a pretty mediocre story that we've seen before. The scares, like I said, they're more funny to me than scary. There were a few good scares where there's like this imaginary demon-like figure that appears in the background sometimes, and you see it in the far back in the darkness, and it can get a little bit of fright out of you, but in terms of scares, that's about it. And this movie kind of moves along as a haunted house film with this imaginary friend, this bear Chauncey, haunting the house and haunting the family. And I thought if they kept it on that subject, on that story, it could have made for a serviceable horror movie, an average horror movie at best. But then towards the end, spoilers coming up here, they discover that Chauncey the bear isn't actually a real bear. No one can see him but the little girl and the stepmom, and it's because that Chauncey is imaginary. It was the original imaginary friend, and then they go really off the rails with how this bear, this Chauncey, is actually from another dimension where imaginary friends live, and all these demons from that imaginary friend realm try to bring kids into that realm and keep them there forever, and then they have to build this door out of blue paint, and then they have to collect all these things and sacrifice them to the imaginary demons, and it just goes completely off the rails. I really wish I just stuck with a haunted house story about this imaginary friend, but then we have the whole last 40 minutes of this movie in this imaginary demon realm, and it's, to me, it was stupid. I couldn't, buy into that story. I couldn't really get into it. I know it seems like I'm shitting on this movie. It's not terrible. It's not the worst horror movie I've ever seen. Like I said, that first hour or so, where it is a haunted house, imaginary friend, ghost story, I kind of enjoyed it. Yeah, the acting is a bit cringy, and yeah, it's not anything new and refreshing. It's kind of an average horror movie, but that's exactly what it was. It was an average horror movie. It's just that last 40 minutes where we're living this whole movie in this demon realm, it just doesn't work for me. And then the movie does that classic horror movie thing at the end where you think all is good, you think all is okay, you think the good guys won, and then bam, they didn't. The demon or the ghost or the slasher comes back for one last scare. And while I do enjoy that horror movie trope, here, in order to make that work, they replayed the whole entire last 15 minutes of the movie. Like, literally some of the shots that were used 15 minutes ago were reused again this time. It felt cheap, it felt undeserved, and I just could not get behind that. I sat there thinking this was going to be an average horror movie, and that ending just absolutely fell apart for me. A lot of weird characters come in, like this old lady from across the street who just knows all about these imaginary friend demons and their realm. It's like, what are you doing? Why do you know about this? It's just weird to me. A lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. So yeah, that's another swing and a miss for Blumhouse, in my opinion. If I have to give this movie a rating out of 10, a 4.5. A 4.5. It's below average. Like I said, it's fine as a haunted house ghost story. And then the last half of this movie just goes completely off the rails and loses me. Thank you all so much for watching my review, and I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about this new movie, Imaginary. Did you enjoy it? Did you find it stupid? Let me know. I want to hear your thoughts. Make sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to my channel. I appreciate all the support you guys show me. Thank you so much, and have a great day.